Hey Bubble family and new viewers that might be coming to my channel, welcome. If you would like to know more about what I do here, what this channel is about, what the Bubble family means, click on my intro video. Hopefully, if I remember, I will put a little link up here, but it is on my actual YouTube page. You will see an intro video which explains everything you need to know about this wonderful channel and community. Now, for those of you who are sticking with me and you clicked on that thumbnail, thank you, welcome. Today's video is going to be about the Tom Bower book, chapter 13, A Troubled Prince. Now, normally I've been trying to do 2 chapters in one video, but this one was quite lengthy, so I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. So you have one chapter here. So if you would like to listen to my therapeutic perspective on Tom Bower's book, where I hopefully give you some little Easter eggs or read between the lines of what he's trying to say, then this video is for you. And if you don't know by now, you should, for those wonderful people who have stayed with me since the beginning. But for those of you, sit back, relax, and do what we do. Grab your drink of choice, whether it be tea, whether it be coffee, whether it be water, whether it be ginger and honey, as somebody recommended to me in the comments. Warm water with ginger and honey. I'm going to try it, so hold the phone caller because I'm going to try it. What else? Maybe a glass of Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke if that is your thing. Whether you would like to add a splash of vodka to that, or because as I always say, it is 5 o'clock somewhere, so grab your drink. And by the way, mine is passion fruit. Cheers. So, chapter 13, A Troubled Prince. In 2016, Prince Harry was damaged, insecure, underemployed, and he was 31 years old. Over the previous 15 years, he had become notorious in the media as a wild party animal. Yet despite a series of incidents, dressing up as a Nazi for a party, calling a fellow Sandhurst cadet a P-word, I'm not saying it, drunkenly attacking a photographer outside a nightclub, Harry was always forgiven after apologies by a Buckingham Palace spokesman. Now, I've written here, it is curious to me how he was always forgiven by the public. And how the public have turned now. And I think a lot of the reasons why he was forgiven was out of respect of his mother. And I think the media was also partly to blame here because they entrenched within our minds this walk that Harry and William did behind Diana's coffin. So I think a lot of people, I think, especially during his younger years, felt that perhaps almost like there wasn't that much time that had gone past. So it was almost like it was forgiven. He was acting out. It was forgiven. But it felt to me as well that William didn't matter. Now, okay, I mean, I'm not saying that William didn't matter in the sense of the royal family, but because he was obviously he's heir to the throne. But it felt in the eyes of the media, and even now, it's almost as if he was the only child walking behind that coffin. Now, okay, William was older, but he still would have been deeply affected by this. In fact, I believe more so because he was very much a carer for Diana. He was almost like Diana's confidant. He was there, he witnessed a lot of the things that were happening. He was old enough to understand. I think he protected Harry. And I think even after Diana's death, I think he sort of carried that mantle on. But it was interesting that nobody really kind of considered him, not as much as Harry. And they made excuses for his behaviour. I think there was definitely an element of that going on. So unlike his father, Harry was widely adored as a good lad who many men and women wanted to protect. But beyond the public's gaze, Harry had become over recent months lonely and forlorn. Watching William's happiness with Kate and their 2 children, he had become vulnerable, which in a way is perfect fodder for a narcissist. Even though narcissists do not always target vulnerable people, they are prone most definitely to, they are their in a way mark of choice, because they're easy to manipulate. But however, like I say, this doesn't always translate, because they do like a challenge. But he would have been perfect, and especially in Google mode Meghan, who was frantically, Googling everything about Harry. She would have literally been all up in his business about everything that went on, and she would have been probably writing notes. The loss of a parent is a tragedy for any child, I agree. The loss is often mitigated by love from the surviving parent and grandparents, and sometimes a step-parent, and this is also true. But in 1997, when Diana died shortly before his 13th birthday, Harry was unusually helpless. Throughout his childhood, Diana had tolerated her son's problems, and I think thereby that's where him and Meghan were kind of aligned, because I think Meghan was also in the same, not that she'd lost a parent, but in a way she kind of did, because Doria was very absent. So I think that relational connection, and I most definitely believed that would have been something that she would have played upon. Now, I'm not sure I believe that she would have told Harry the truth, whether it be that Doria was in prison. I think what I'm guessing is that she would have blamed her father for a lot of what went on, because I think also Doria potentially would have told Meghan that a lot of it was Thomas's fault, that she wasn't around. And so I'm guessing that having an absent mother, this would have then played right into the connection with Harry having lost a mother. Meghan would have kind of related and said basically along, well, I get how you feel, because my mother wasn't around when I was growing up, because of, and probably some elaborate story. So as he grew up, he became increasingly more undisciplined, which we've seen. And if you haven't seen my video, I have done the Harry series. Please go and check that out. That is there, and I probably will put that up as a playlist at the end. After he unusually tried to pass his entrance exam to Eton, his relations recognised that Harry's ignorance was spilling over into arrogance. That reality was concealed during the Diana's funeral. Well, he was nearly 13 at the time, so I don't know if you can really say that, I'm sure there are a lot of arrogant 12-year-olds, but I think given what he's, as his child, I'm not going to blame him for his childhood. The image of the grieving boy walking behind Diana's coffin through London evoked heartfelt sympathy across the world. Exactly that, the image of the grieving boy. It was boys. William was grieving, but it just seems for some reason it's almost like they erase William out of that, and they just say Harry. Harry's anchor over the following months were his grandparents, his father Charles, and his loving nanny Tiggy Bjork, I believe. He was there for us, Harry said, in his early 20s of Charles. And it's interesting how when Meghan come along, that changed too. He was no longer there for us. Nobody was there apart from Meghan, Saint Meghan. Harry's most important relationship was with William. Again, funny how that changed when Meghan come along. The problem here is if you put something in someone's field of awareness that wasn't there, it can be very, very damaging. And this is why even as a therapist, it's really important that we create that trust with our client, that we make sure that a client comes to the conclusions themselves, because you do not realize how much, over a vulnerable person, how much power and control you can actually have. And even with someone that's not trained, but someone who's manipulative, like the way Meghan I allegedly is, you can certainly put that into someone's kind of consciousness as it, it's like, well, like when you can create someone to feel that they had a very bad childhood when actually their experience of their childhood wasn't bad. But suddenly, you're saying, well, that's not right. And all of a sudden it gets the person kind of going, well, maybe my childhood wasn't right then. And I think that's exactly what Meghan's done. I think he's kind of had this upbringing. I think he's been very close, but she's put things in and said, well, that's not right. I think they're trying to sabotage you there. I think they're trying to do this or that. And it's created Harry, who's quite, in a way back then, I think was quite susceptible to this manipulation, and he's kind of gone, oh yeah, maybe you're right. And I think there was an element where he wanted to please her because he believed that she was like his mother. William had a very troubled relationship with Charles, apparently. There were often cries of, I hate you, Papa, I hate you so much. He would shout at Charles while witnessing yet another argument with Diana. Why do you always make Mummy cry all the time? And I find that so sad. I find that so sad that, and that part of me, as much as I don't agree with the way Harry has behaved as an adult, I do feel very sad that both those boys kind of went through this kind of environment, because it must have been, I do believe that both parents are culpable as well, because Diana very much leaned on William when I think she shouldn't have done. I think she created William to start acting a lot older than he should have been. He witnessed a lot of things that he shouldn't have done on both sides, and those are the fault of the parents. Your job is to protect your children. It's not to eliminate them from the entire truth, but it's definitely to protect them from things like that. I mean, some things you can't help if you're having an argument, but witnessing your mum crying consistently, knowing that, and then thinking it's the fault of the father. Both parents have a responsibility there. Regardless who's right or wrong, your job as a parent, like I say, is to protect your children as best as possible, and that is even from yourself as a parent. You protect them from even you if you are struggling with mental health. You'd have to try and do the best you can. Both boys blamed Camilla for their mother's unhappiness and the destruction of their parents' marriage. And again, I find that interesting that, well, it's not actually, I find that quite common. You do find in this instance that they will blame the other person, whoever it is. And again, they're both at fault. Camilla shouldn't have been dating him when he was with Diana, and Charles shouldn't have been dating Camilla. Now, I don't say that I don't. I feel sorry for the fact that I do think Charles was pushed into a relationship with Diana. I think he tried his best to make it work, but they were so incredibly non-compatible. I think his love was Camilla, and they just were not allowed to marry. And so, can you imagine being told that, especially at a young age, that you're not to marry the love of your life? That's, a lot of people would just be like, well, I mean, as we know, and people do just run off and get married. But I guess that, for Charles, that wasn't an option. But I think it's very sad. But again, they had a responsibility. He did get married, and he should have curtailed his relationship while he was married. And Camilla shouldn't have made it easy for him, to go after him and continue the relationship either. So I do think then, as much as difficult as what it was, I do think they are both responsible. I know things are not as black and white, and I do appreciate that. And I know Diana wasn't innocent, but when she married into that royal family, she was very young. And I think, that is when she was, in my eyes, innocent. I don't think she quite realised, and I think she did fall in love with Charles, and I think she really did want to make it work with him. And I think it was due to her unhappiness and the wanting to feel loved, and that connection that she lacked from him, because he didn't love her and he was forced into that relationship. And I'm not saying that I don't think he did try to make it work with her, and I do think he did love her at one point. I don't think he was in love with her, but I think he did love her. But yeah, so I just think it was just a very sad situation, really. Both the boys for some time avoided meeting Camilla when she was staying in Clarence House, Charles's London home. Their dislike was reignited after Camilla was blamed for Tiggy Leg Bork's departure. So here you have, these two boys really have lost a great deal, because not only have they lost their mother, in a way they lost their father, because even though he was around, he was still quite preoccupied with Camilla. Then they lose Tiggy, so who was like another mother to them, so they lost an awful lot at a young age. And you do find this is usually apparent, that one, especially with siblings, that one will go off the rails and the other won't. And I think William was the kind of one that tried to hold everything together. And Harry was the one that just wasn't, and I think he felt okay to just express exactly how he felt to whoever he felt, and there was no repercussions for that. Caring for Harry from the day he was born, William was unhappy as his brother. William was as unhappy as his brother. Rude at school, Basher Wills could not resist asserting his privilege, sometimes violently, reminding outsiders of his destiny as the future king. I mean, that's not ideal, is it? I mean, and I think that, again, was where he was also protected by, because, I mean, I think a lot of the time the media portrayed William to be this kind of boring, sensible brother. But it seems like maybe behind the scenes he was a little bit kind of rebellious as well, and I don't blame them. I think a lot of kids go off the rails or have moments like this. A lot of teenagers, especially with the amount of loss, being in the public eye, you're not even allowed to grieve privately without having cameras thrust in your face. So yeah, I think, like I was saying, it's not surprising that they both rebelled. It's I think it would be pretty common. Charles turned a blind eye to his wayward teenage sons. I think Charles just went into denial. I think he just becomes so consumed with seeing Camilla and focusing on himself that I think, if these accounts are to be believed, that he then probably let them kind of get on with it. And I think that's kind of sad, really. Whenever trouble erupted, Harry invariably took the blame to protect the heir and conceal his explosive temper. So I think this is where Harry, to some degree, took the flak as the spare. Oh, now I've got hiccups, great. It kind of seems to me that they had to make sure that everybody believed Harry as the sensible one, the one that was, because he's the heir to the throne, the future king. So they had to keep his character intact. So, albeit that Harry was doing a lot of this stuff, but I think it seemed that a lot of things that Harry would take the blame for some things. But by all accounts, it seemed like he accepted that was part of his role as well. William had to look perfect and Harry had to take the strain, in protecting the heir. Harry didn't protest. William liked to be in control, and Harry uncritically accepted his brother's power. However, the newspaper's dishonesty rankled Harry and was aware about the news of the world and was convinced that Charles was not his father. They were seeking a strand of his hair to check whether the DNA matched that of James Hewitt, Diana's boyfriend for 5 years. How awful. Because even now, there's a lot of speculation in regards to Harry being Charles's son. I think Harry is Charles's. I mean, yes, okay, he's got red hair. I appreciate that. But if you look at his eyes and his nose, he's got exactly the same shaped nose as Charles. His eyes are quite close together, very similar to Charles. So I do think, I mean, yes, it's uncanny that he has a similar look to James Hewitt, but if you look at the shape of the face, if you took away kind of the red hair, because I think it's the red hair that throws people off. If Harry's hair was the same colour as William's, I don't believe there would be any doubt. But I believe that Harry is Charles's. And from what I've gleaned from this as well is that the affair finished, I believe, I think it started after Harry was born. But again, who knows? So basically, the newspapers were trying to get this DNA, and it failed. But I just think that's so awful for a young lad to be growing up wondering actually if you are and possibly in a way he might have even wanted to believe that he wasn't, because he was so caught up in this goldfish bowl that there were probably times when he wanted to believe that James Hewitt was his father and not Charles. I just think that's horrible for a young lad, and I just think, what, shame on the media. And I think, and I can understand to some degree Harry's anger at the media, albeit that I do think that both him and his wife now, along with even Diana, they courted the media when it suited them. And unfortunately, you can't have it both ways. You can't have that adulation and those great kind of moments in the media when they celebrate you and do something and talk about you in a great way, but then, you know, or you know, use them as clickbait, or use them as ring up the media when you want to have, you know, you want to be seen coming out of restaurants. You can't do that, because they are a monster, and you know, if you unleash that monster, you get the other side of it as well. But it seems to me that they wanted the great side of it, but they didn't want to entertain the other side. And again, in this book, it talks about, and I don't really understand why this is relevant. I feel like this isn't particularly relevant, and I don't really understand why Tom Bauer put this in the book. Like even talking about James Hewitt, even mentioning, I mean, I know that he's done this kind of, but this is mainly about Meghan, so I don't really understand why he felt the need to write this chapter in a way in regards to bringing up the affairs that Diana had. So she had affairs, we all knew that, and you know, it's I don't know why he felt the need to write that. I feel like that was pretty pointless and doesn't really serve to do anything. You know, obviously he talks about Diana and how the portrayal of Diana is lonely and distraught, and apparently the way she was portrayed in the media damaged Charles. 1992, Diana and Charles legally separated, and then this is when apparently the 5-year affair with Captain James Hewitt then come out, but it apparently ended in 1991. And then it was then the Battle of the Wales. Diana scored the last penalty in a the now infamous Panorama interview in 1995. And I'm not going to talk about that, because I just think, again, you know, I think that all this has done is just damage those boys. You know, I think I understand the need to have your say, I do, but have it when your kids, you know, your kids are older, where you can just sit down and chat with them and say, you know, look, I want to do this, I want to give this interview, what do you think? I think if you're doing this when your kids are younger, without even giving yourself any thought to how your kids are going to feel about that when they're older, or even now at the time, you know, exactly and that's what fascinates me even more, and why I am of the belief that Harry and Meghan are not parents, as in the sense of raising children in their own home, parents. Because if that was the case, Harry knows firsthand how damaging that interview was when she did that interview with Panorama, how much it hurt them. And yet they've gone on to Oprah, and that is out there in the digital world now forever. So if those children are around, they will see at some point that their mother and father sat down and did an interview where they literally talked about her wanting to take her life with Archie inside her, which I will get to at another point, because I don't believe that for a second. But also literally trashing the entire family on all sides. Those children are going to see that. Why? You know, Harry's literally hypocritical, because he sat there and said, you know, why, to his dad, you know, just because you went through it, why have we got to go through it? Quite rightly so. He's just gone and done exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. You know, so I just, it's like the hypocrisy, really, in the fact that he's judging, you know, judging his father and judging other people, but yet he's literally just gone and done the same thing to his own phantom children, if they're real, which I don't believe, you know, I'm not saying that I don't believe they're real. I do have a thought and theory on the fact, but I don't believe they're with them, and I don't believe he's raising them, because he doesn't think like a parent, he doesn't act like a parent, he's immature. We never see them, and I do not believe for a tiny second that they're with them, because like I said, and I certainly don't believe that she's the mother, because as a narcissist, she, and I've said this a million times, she would be merching those children, merching them, every aspect of them, photo shoots, clothing lines, food, toys, diapers, you name it, there would be Archie holes written all over it. No. Now, I'm not saying that I don't think Archie, there isn't an Archie. I do think there possibly is, and I think he's in the UK, and I do believe he's potentially with the real mother. Theory, mileage theory. But I don't, because like I say, he doesn't act like a parent. He doesn't, well, neither of them do, to be fair. Neither of them do. So the brothers grew up convinced that the media had killed their mother. But again, it's, I mean, okay, I get the fact that they can believe that, but again, they're missing the fact that Diana courted the media, and like I said, it is a hungry monster, and if you feed that monster, you're going to do that. It's going to happen. You know, this is not as it is now, where the royal family have struck a deal with the media. This was before that, when the paparazzi were crazy. I mean, look how were they when they chased Diana? They chased Kate even. Meghan didn't have any of that. I think she would have loved to have that, but she didn't have that. She wasn't chased like Kate was. She didn't have weighty Katie plastered all over a bus. You know, and the stuff that Diana went through. If anyone went through this similar to what Diana did, Catherine did. Catherine did. You know, she didn't. So you can't. I say you can't have it both ways. She courted the media, and unfortunately, that. What happened, and it was very tragic. But like I say, when you have those crazy paparazzi, which they were totally insane in my opinion. But you know, she would organise those shoots a bit like what Meghan does now with Backgrid, but without that, no one would turn up. No one underestimated Diana's own excitement about the global interest she aroused. She was an icon exuding breathtaking glamour and beauty, and she was. And I think there was that air of mystery around her. I think there was a vulnerability which people related to, and she was almost unobtainable, you know. And I think she had that kind of magic about her, and I think that is so. And I'm sorry, I'm going to be honest. That is something that Meghan will never have. I think Catherine has that sparkle. I think Catherine has an element of that beautiful side of Diana, that vulnerable kind of, I mean, albeit that I think, you know, Catherine's very strong. But she, I don't, you know, I think she has all the great qualities of Diana and not the kind of damaged, self-sabotaging kind of quality about her. Years after Diana's death, Harry recalled complaining to his father about the turmoil he was suffering at school as a member of the royal family and the legacy of a broken family. Profoundly unhappy, Harry willfully destroyed other boys' property at Eton, once cutting up the pencil case of a fellow student. And this is where Charles says, well, it was like that for me. And Harry says, well, it doesn't make sense. Just because you suffered doesn't mean that your kids have to. And like I said, that's true. But again, like I said before, Harry has gone on to repeat those same mistakes and doing the interview with Oprah, not really thinking about, like I say, his phantom children. Diana spent her wrecked childhood shuttling between her selfish parents, you know. So Diana didn't have a particularly happy childhood, and unfortunately, when you don't have a happy childhood, it then can create you to become an unhappy adult if you don't seek support and help, or if you don't have the right people around you. And this is when it says that Harry didn't get anywhere in his in Eton. He gained merely 2 A levels after 5 years at Eton. Harry scored a grade B in art and a grade D in geography. Most Etonians would expect to achieve at least 3 A's. Harry's results reflected his record stuck at the bottom of his class. Unsuited for university, he needed a career. Angry and emotional, his male friends tolerated his wish to be the naughtiest in the room. At a loss, Harry was frequently seen in nightclubs, especially Bourgie, or what it was called, in Kensington, with society blondes. Well, we've all seen that, you know, where he's rude, and he called a barman an effing frog. It's nice. So he was really in self-destruct mode. He really was. He was just literally like, you know, I'm a prince, I can do what I want. Most girls made little noticeable impression on him until 2004, when he met Chelsea Davy, an attractive, intelligent, independently minded university graduate from a Zimbabwean family. Both were party animals. They enjoyed drugs, drinking, and sex. Davy discovered his need for a girlfriend who could also be like his mother. Ding ding, there we go. And along comes Megan. And this is exactly it. I think that's exactly what he craved, and that's exactly what Megan researched, and she would know. And that's exactly how she portrayed herself, by wearing Diana's perfume, by aligning with her ideals, changing her Wikipedia, doing all this humanitarian work, So of course, when he looked her up, it would have been like, oh, she's very similar to Diana. And then when he met her wearing Diana's perfume, psychological love bombing, trauma bonding, and it was just like hooked. And then probably the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Well, maybe not the rock and roll. William avoided these problems because in 2004, he was not seeking a substitute for Diana. He was in a deep relationship with a fellow student at the University of St Andrews, Cape Middleton, and anchored into a calm, middle-class, ordinary family. And that's what William, he took his time, 8 years. He wasn't sure. He ended it. He was, and then he really realised that actually, after seeing what she'd gone through and how she handled herself, I think that was what really persuaded him. He wasn't sure she was cut out for royal life, but with the pursuit of the paparazzi and everything else, she handled it, and she handled herself with class and dignity. And I think that was what it was for him. Harry's salvation was in the army. In 2005, he applied to enter the military academy at Sandhurst. His examiners were perplexed by his childish answers in the entry exam. Had he not been the prince, he would have been rejected. So again, you can't, you can't have it both ways. He hates aspects of the royal family being in the goldfish bowl, but he's quite happy to take the freebies that are given to him. He's quite happy to accept a place at Sandhurst, knowing that it was being a royal that got him through that door. That's okay. It's like he wants all the great stuff and doesn't want to do the other stuff. So even back then in 2005, it was the same kind of personality. Yeah, I want all the freebies. I want the stuff that I can mix with all the rich and famous and go to nightclubs and, mix with the elite and have the money to do all these things and get, all the things that I do wrong squashed in the media. I love all that. Going on yachts and holidays, private jets. Yep, that's great. Oh, but don't talk about you badly in the media. I don't like that. And I'm not saying that I agree with how his mum was handled. Don't agree with that at all. But he courts the media like his mother in that sense. And, and he picks, and again, cherry picks what he wants to use them for. And the media doesn't play that way. His transformation started with his secret posting to Afghanistan's Helmand province in 2007 as a forward air controller. He says, I wasn't a prince, I was just Harry. Well, no, he wasn't just Harry, because he was protected. The others had to go through their exams. They had to go through scrutiny. He was a prince, he got let in. So he wasn't just Harry. He was a prince going into the military. He was protected. So this kind of aspect of where he believes that he was, just good old Harry. No, he wasn't. He might have wanted to believe he was, and I think a lot of people tolerated him, but no, he wasn't just good old Harry. 10 weeks after arriving, his posting was leaked by a German magazine. The security threat was unimaginable. He had to be hastily evacuated. I felt very resentful, he said, adding another reason to loathe the media after newspapers published photographs of him in 2012 playing nude pool with strip girls in Las Vegas. Well, here's a thought. Don't do it. If you know that the media are looking for any photograph of you, don't give them fodder. Don't give them something to photograph. It's not rocket science. He wants to do these things, but he's not. Well, all right, I know he's allegedly a bit dim, but he knows he's a prince of the UK royal family. So you also know that if you go to Las Vegas and you're playing naked billiards in a strip club, there's every chance someone's going to take your photograph and it's going to be sold and in the media. You can't just blame the media for this. It's the people taking the photographs that's selling them, but also it's you. You have to take responsibility for the decisions you make. If you're not giving them anything, there's nothing to photograph. I can understand if they're putting photographs of just your face coming out of Waitrose. I get that. But you are the prince of a royal family. And that's, yes, okay, I wouldn't want that job. But you have got that job. You've chose to stay at that job and enjoy the trappings of being in the royal family. But alongside of that, like anyone that's famous, you want to take the trappings of being famous, for example, and the millions of pounds that a studio might pay you in being a celebrity. But then when you get Pat coming drunk out of a club, you complain about it. Well, that's part of it. It's like me doing even a YouTube channel. I might not like the fact that I get trolled occasionally, but it unfortunately comes part and parcel with it. But that, in a way, it's slightly different because I'm not doing anything wrong. But if you do something wrong when you're in the public eye and you're going to get pat for it, well, you either don't care about that, or if you do care about it, don't do it. It's not rocket science. So this why it's consistent need to blame everybody for his shortcomings rather than actually go, do you know what, perhaps I shouldn't have done that. And then this kind of thing about putting the security threat, again, it becomes about him. I'm resentful. Well, what about the people that you put in jeopardy? You wanted to go into the military. You skated through because you're the prince. You didn't have to do, you didn't pass your exams. But that if someone found out, you put in people, if you go anywhere with some of your fellow comrades, and then you get caught and they get caught with you, then you're putting people at risk. But you chose to do that. It's, whether it's fair or not is irrelevant. That is the choice that you made, but then he bleats on about how unfair it is. Well, do you know what? Life is unfair, but we haven't got millions to get us out of situations. We have to work our way up. That word, work. Further training as an army helicopter pilot led to a second 20-week tour in Helmand. Reluctantly, he left the army in 2015. Now, he left the army in 2015, and apparently the media made it seem that he had just taken a tough decision to leave. No, he left because he didn't have the exam results to move up further, so he had to leave. His lack of academic qualifications barred him from further promotion. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of the military, but I'm pretty sure he could have stayed even if he wasn't promoted. I'm pretty sure. Could he not, if he wanted to stay? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. He doesn't need to get promoted, but could he just have stayed as a good old, just one of the boys? Could he have stuck at it if he'd have wanted to? Or was he just did it for the promotion because he liked to lord it around and go, oh, look at me, I'm higher than all of you. Which I'm pretty sure would have made some of them resentful that actually work for it. So apparently then Chelsea Davy had had enough and she wanted to walk away. Apparently she wanted to settle down, but she didn't want to settle down as a member of the royal family. And I've said this before. Why did he not walk away? He liked her. He liked Chelsea Davy. She was the one that I believe, when I look at all the body language pictures, he was the one she was the one he loved. Why did he not walk away? This was only 2015. A year before meeting Meghan. If he wanted out, he had the perfect opportunity to get out. He was with a woman that he loved, that was smart, beautiful, intelligent, all of those things. He could have walked away with her, but he didn't. Why? Because I don't believe he wanted to leave. And I've always said this. I don't believe he wanted all the negative stuff that goes along with being part of the royal family. I think he wanted to cherry pick the things that he wanted to do, but he absolutely enjoyed being a royal. He liked lording it around. He liked being the prince of the UK. He just didn't like being probably the spare to his brother. He didn't like the fact that was there, but he enjoyed all the rest of it. He didn't leave because he didn't want to leave. Harry at first rekindled his relationship with an aspiring actress, Cressida Bonus, so obviously we know where that went, and then apparently then she left him too, and again for the same similar reason. She didn't want to be part of the Goldfish Bowl that was the royal family, but again he chose to stay. Both women said that, like others Harry met, discovered that he lacked class, was unromantic, unserious, short-tempered, imperious. Throughout their relationship, he had behaved without generosity. Well, not really a catch, is he? So this then really does make me believe that Meghan was not interested in him as in a romantic relationship. She really was only interested in him in what the status he could bring her in opening up the Hollywood circles, which is what I always believed. I think she thought, marry Harry, I get everything that I would have wanted: status, money, fame, etc., etc. And because he's not a catch, he's not a particularly nice person, but that wouldn't have mattered to her. It wouldn't have mattered to her because she was not in it for love. When you're not in it for love, you put up with things because, you know, or you're interested in money and fame. He then goes on to talk about his mental health. He says anyone can suffer from mental health problems, even a member of the royal family, which I do agree with. But no offence, Harry, but not everyone has got millions to or afforded the best healthcare. You know, there are people out there that suffer with mental health that haven't got any help whatsoever. So as much as that might be true, you have all the help you need. You know, you've only got to ask. And a supportive family, not everyone has that either. So it's not quite the same, is it? He then talks about his brother. My brother was a huge blessing. He said this is, you know, where his brother said this is not right, this is not normal, you need to talk to someone about your stuff. On William's advice, he visited a therapist. And funny how that changed when he got with Meghan though. Meghan helped him. Again, Saint Meghan. Once I started doing therapy, he said it was like a bubble burst. Well, something's not worked there then because he's still angry. Like Diana, Harry found respite from his torment by helping fellow sufferers. In 2013, he was inspired to create an international athletic and sports competition for injured soldiers, especially those who'd served in Iraq and Afghanistan, called the Invictus Games for the Unconquered. He won the admiration of former servicemen, and don't get me wrong, that's admirable. You know, then I think he's changed the way he is now, but back then. But it's interesting that it doesn't become mentioned here that he actually took that from I believe from the Warrior Games in the United States. But it seemed that he loved this, and there were pictures of him where it showed that he was hugging children, laughing, joshing around with athletes. And I do believe genuinely that this is where he does have that compassion underneath. I do think that's why when people have said, do you think that Harry has narcissistic personality? No, I don't. I think he has narcissistic traits, and I've spoken about the fact that I think he has histrionic disorder as well, potentially, allegedly, but because I think there are bouts of compassion in him, and I think you see that he does light up when he's at the Invictus Games. You see it. So I do think he has those bouts, and I think that probably did really, really help him. And it says that 2 billion viewers had watched William and Catherine marry on the 29th of April the previous year. The Queen became the world's best known and admired celebrity. Harry, the charming prince, became the second most popular royal after the Queen. I mean, just how sad. I mean, he must look at that now and think, what have I done? What have I done? To go from being the most popular royal after the Queen to now, I think, at rock bottom with Andrew, and I think Meghan is actually further down still. I think he's above Meghan maybe, but that's just that to me. He must realise what a mistake he's made. And I think that all that will do is serve to fuel his anger, and he'll again blame everybody else but himself. and the choices that he's made, him and his wife. Among royalists, there were additional relief that Harry and William were very close, which they were. Even better, the public saw Harry laughing with William and Kate on stage to champion the Royal Foundation, a charity established by the trio for their special causes, especially mental health. Harry described his main role in life was to support William as king. And I think there you go. It's like, you've got right here the proof that Harry did get the help. He was supported by, albeit his father wasn't particularly hands-on all the time, but he did support his son. William most definitely did, so did Catherine. So this kind of concept that's now been rewritten and constructed of he had no help whatsoever, but then also the fact here that they were part of Heads Together, the Royal Foundation, which really kind of honed in on mental health. So this concept of how Meghan was literally left to her own devices, where she's going to HR to ask for help, when you've got not only the fact that you have all this going on in the background, Heads Together, so that would have been there. So there's no way, the fact that Harry's got therapy and probably got access to the top therapist if they needed it, so she would have had access to that if needed. But also the fact that Meghan's mother was connected to the mental health service in the United States. So even if, by all accounts, she was close to it, the way she portrayed it, she was close to her mother. So, you've got all these varying factors along the fact that, at the time when she was allegedly pregnant, she would have had nurses, doctors, but not one of them she spoke to. She went to HR. She didn't speak to her nurse or her doctor, or, and then when apparently she allegedly speaks to her husband, Harry's just like, I don't know what to do. Oh, come on. How people believe this, I am dumbfounded. Well, let's face it, most people that use their critical thinking brain and actually have a level of intelligence actually don't believe it. Their fan base do, obviously. This is just complete manipulation. And then he would say, then every single time I was in a room with loads of people and cameras, which is quite often, he said, I was just pouring with sweat, my heart beating, boom, 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 literally just like a washing machine. Well, I don't recall ever seeing that personally, but maybe he was there with the makeup team and they were, doing that. But he seemed pretty okay as far as I'm concerned. And he seems okay now when he's in front of a room full of people and talking. Although I will say that I did see an element of that when he was doing the UN speech. He was definitely anxious. You could see that he was licking his lips a lot, swallowing a lot. He looked unhappy. So perhaps that's what he means. But it's interesting that he has that now when Meghan was supposed to have saved him. Harry presented the official line, I absolutely adore my grandmother and I would take on everything she wants us to. But he also revealed his melancholy about having a family and marriage. He said finding a wife would be fantastic. But 5 years later, he was more candid. I was thinking, I don't want this job. I don't want to be here. In hindsight, many realised that Harry was looking to escape. On Friday, the 1st of July, Harry was in France with his father, brother and David Cameron, the Prime Minister. They were visiting the Somme to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the start of the battle. At the end of a solemn day, the group returned to London. Harry sped off from Northolt Airport towards Soho, unaware of how the next hours would change his life. I don't think Harry wanted to escape everything. It reminds me of when someone, and I'm going to be completely honest and open here with you guys, sometimes when someone says to me, I want to take my own life, I always have to kind of really talk about what that really means. Because is it that you really want to end your life and you don't want to be on this planet anymore, or do you just want to end the feeling that you're feeling? Because a lot of people, when they say that, they are just so entrenched in this dark feeling that whatever it is, it's all encompassing, that they want that to stop. And the only way they feel that can stop is by ending their life. So they say that. So actually then when you talk a bit further, it kind of comes to, no, I just want to stop what I'm feeling. I don't want to feel this way anymore. And this reminds me a bit like with Harry saying that I don't want to be here anymore. I don't think he wanted to escape the royal family. I think he wanted to escape an aspect of the royal family. I think, like I've said before, I think he enjoyed the trappings when it was great. When he was having a great time, he loved it. When he was able to do it, the common sense of it all is like, if he was plain old Harry, from down the road, he wouldn't have been able to do Invictus. So I think, you know, when it affords him those luxuries of being able to set up something like that, or to do the charities that he's done, or the, you know, to, like I say, to jet set all over the world and go to Africa and do all of those things, he doesn't complain about the royal family there. He doesn't complain about the royal family when it's afforded him the entrance into Sandhurst or Eton, or all of those things, the money, the, you know, the women, you know, like I say, the drugs, the booze, and all of those things, the meeting celebrities. Oh, he doesn't complain about the royal family then. But when you have the shadow side of the royal family, the darker side, the side where the media will literally pick holes in every aspect of your life and you're living in a goldfish bowl, when you can't get away with naked billiards or wearing a Nazi uniform without it being plastered all over the paper, because I'm not being funny, if you were just like, say, Harry from down the road, no one would have cared. So it's the fact that he wants to cherry pick. He wants to cherry pick the things that he wants against the things that he doesn't. And this is the way I believe it's always been, all the way along, because he's had opportunities to leave. No one is literally there making him stay. If he wanted to walk away from the royal family, he could have walked away at any point. He could have said, I want no part of this, I want a private life, and he could have jetted off to wherever, and he had the means to do that. And I'm sure the royal family would have said, look, your mental health is that bad, if you want to go off to Africa and do some humanitarian work, off you go, we'll make that happen. I don't believe for 1 second they were like, no, you got to stay here. I mean, I'm sure they would have persuaded him, but they would have seen, like, you know, he's adamant. Because if he can leave with Meghan now, he could have left back then. He could have left at any point, but he didn't want to. He just didn't want the negative side of it. He wanted to pick and choose the stuff that he wanted to do, pretty much like what they're doing now. And that is what I think they've always wanted. And I think I think Meghan gave him the opportunity to do exactly that. To have that life, that he could have the great part of the royal life, but then pick and choose the you know, not cutting ribbons outside an old people's home. And now trying to censor the media. So let me know what you think in the comments, guys, because that's that for that chapter. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like more of my videos and you would like to stay for the channel, then think about subscribing, because it is free, and it does help the algorithm very much so. Thank you to everybody who has come on board. I really do appreciate you. And if you want to stay for the waffle, it is going to be coming up next. If you don't, I thank you very much for watching this video. And don't forget, I'm on Instagram. All of my links are in the bio, where you can find my merch. You can buy me a coffee if you want to, become a member if you choose to. You don't have to, it's not obligatory. But if you want to be part of the competitions, you must be subscribed to my channel. And if you want some extra little perks, you will get that as being a member, Patreon, a part of the Bubble Tea Club. So yeah, so as always, I thank you, I appreciate you, but most of all, I respect you. Stay tuned for the waffle. Bye. So for those of you who have stayed on for the waffle, thank you very much. For those of you who have decided just to turn up for the waffle, welcome. So I'm a little bit excited today, because as some of you know, I have a PO box now, because so many of you have emailed me saying, would really like to send you something that I would really like you to promote on the channel, whether it be I've started like a little business or whatever it is, or I'd like to send something for Arthur, or even just something for little old me. And so I've had, I had the PO box, and I would need to go and collect. So I've had some lovely cards and things, which people have kind of said, you know, please keep this private. This is for you. Please don't put this on the channel, which I absolutely respect. And it's wonderful to receive those. But because of my restrictions in like where it's been so hot and I've not been able to get out, whether it be working, whether I've just been in a little bit of pain with my legs have been too swollen, or something's come along, I've like, you know what, I need to perhaps change the PO box so it actually comes to my address. So I've done that. I did that kind of probably 2 weeks ago, and I'm not saying that I expect anything, because I don't. I mean, it's just nice if it does, but nothing was coming. So I was kind of getting a little bit maybe I've done something wrong, maybe it doesn't work, so I was getting a little bit panicky. But no, today I received my first parcel, and it's got the PO box and it's got the teen therapy, so it's all good, all good. It works. So of course I have opened it already, but for those of you who have said, oh, you know, when you get something, if you can get it open on the channel, can you please do that? So for you guys, because this is so wonderful. Now I'm not going to name the person because I think she wants to be kept private. She sent me a beautiful, I mean, you know who you are because you obviously are on this channel. I got a lovely card, and again, I'm not going to read what's inside of it, but what a lovely card that I got, and it was in with a lid. I just love it. And what I want to do is when I have my office done, when I finally get around to finishing it, I'm going to have some shelving units put behind. So what I would like to do is everything that I've sent, like when I've got my mini me, I've got like all the cards and things, you know, I'm going to put them on the little shelving unit behind me, so you can all see the stuff that you sent me, because it really does mean a lot to me. And at the minute I've kind of got this sort of little pile of cards and things, and I have nowhere to put it. I have nowhere to put it. So that's my aim, is to have these things. But what this lady sent me, bless your heart, bless your heart, it's like a kid at Christmas, is a neck cooler. And yes, I have used it already, I would like to add, and it's amazing. Now I was doing the book, doing the highlights in the book, ready to read out for, as you know, the video I've done before this, well not the video, the bit before this, and I was literally breaking out into a sweat, and I was just, sorry, I take that back, a glow. I was breaking out into a very drippy glow, and so I was like, oh, I know what I can do. I know what I can do. I can use this. So apparently it looks like this. So it almost looks like a pair of, I wonder if that works. Just cool my ears. So yes, so you switch it on here, and you have like 3 settings. So that one. And then what you do, and it's great because it kind of, it really does fit to, you know, if you want to have it, whichever. So you slide it over, obviously take my hair out, and you literally sit with it like that. And it just, it gives just, oh. Honestly, to you who bought me this, and sent me this, I want to say I love you, because honestly, wearing this within not even probably a minute, I was cooling down. This is, and it comes with its little charger, so you just plug it into your USB and it charges. Best thing ever. I mean, I know I've got my trusty fan, and you know, and I sit here, but this is honestly, it's a little bit noisy, so probably not something I could use for videos. But when I'm sitting doing my research, and I'm sitting, you know, kind of doing my notes from clients and things, this is perfect. Perfect. So thank you so much to you wonderful lady that bought me this. This is just so exciting for me. It's wonderful getting the cards, and I love, like I say, and I really want to put them all up. But you know, getting a little prezzy, it's like the little kid in me is like, oh, what have I got? What have I got? What have I got? I even get that way a little bit for Amazon, even though I know what I've ordered. I still get that way. It's like opening an Amazon parcel. It's like, oh, it's come, you know. So this is great. This is really great. So thank you so much. So that's what I wanted to do today, for the little bit of waffle. Thank you to everybody who is enjoying the new format. I know it's going to take a little bit of an adjustment, because I know a lot of you were used to the waffle at the beginning, but like I say, you can use the timestamp. So if you prefer to go on and watch the waffle first, click on that little on the video, and it gives you the timestamp. You can click to that and then go back to the other part of the video if you so choose. It's kind of like a mix and match. You know, you get, you know, you can kind of choose which way it goes. So so yeah, what else is going on in my life? It's cooler today. So even though That fan has been amazing. I will have to say that it is cooler today. We're supposed to be in for some storms, so I love storms, as long as they don't, you know, the lightning doesn't set alight to anybody. That's not always good. But the storms I love, and living near the sea, you get to see them out at sea, and that's really nice as well. So Trevor is obviously, we're still going to, people that are asking, we're hopefully still going to do the live on Friday, but obviously Trevor is away on holiday, and so I don't know where he's going to be when he does do the live with me, but he has assured me that he is going to find somewhere to that's got internet so he can do the live with me, which will be very funny to see where he's at. I hope he's having an amazing time. If you're watching this, Trev, which you're probably not because you're too busy on holiday, which you should be, but have a wonderful time. I'm quite jealous. I have no life, so I'm here with you guys, so you have to put up with me. What else? So for anyone who's interested in the makeup that I'm wearing today, everything is pretty much the same as what I normally do. I've just done sort of my moisturizer and my routine. There is no foundation today, but I am wearing a little bit of honey bronze because I was looking a bit pale. I had a bit of a headache last night. I didn't sleep very well, so I was trying to put a little bit of colour on my face. What else? What am I wearing lip-wise? Oh yes, my Charlotte Tilbury. I promise you, I'm not sponsored by Charlotte Tilbury, but I'm wearing this today. This colour, and it's, why do they do the writing so small? It's crazy. Happy Petal, I think that is. And even though it looks a dark colour, it's actually not, because I don't like dark colours on my lips. I don't think it suits me. So I think you could kind of top this up to however you want. So yeah, so you can do that. So I think that's kind of it for the waffle today, guys. I haven't really got much. I think when I do a video every day, sometimes just nothing much happens in my life. It's quite boring. So the most exciting thing that happened to me today was getting my little Prezi. So I'm very excited about that. So I hope that you've all had a wonderful day. I hope whether you be working or whether you've had the day off because you've got children off at school, I hope you are finding the weather suitably cooler. If you're not, then I really do, please, you know, keep hydrated and remember about your pooches. And yeah, so thank you to everybody who has joined me, whether it be just for the waffle, whether you've been here for the entire video. Thank you to everyone who's bought me a cup of tea. Thank you to everybody who's become a member, a Patreon, and part of the Bubble Tea Club. Thank you to everyone who is joining the Facebook community group. Every link that I have will be in the description box in the video, so please don't worry when I get people going, can I have your email, can I have the details to the Facebook group, etc. Everything is always going to be in my videos, so you can find everything there, including my PO box. I'm on Instagram, my merch, you know, if you want to go and buy a Bubble Family mug, you know, I'm going to be doing some jigging around with the merch, so go in and grab yourself something now, because I probably will be changing some of the designs. So if you want a Bubble Family mug, if you want a journal, if you want to buy yourself a hoodie or a t-shirt to become part of the Bubble family, we are united together. So please go across and do that. If you are a member and I have not given you your 10% discount code, please email me because I'm trying to get to everybody, but inadvertently, I always end up forgetting somebody. So like I say, if you have emailed me and I haven't got back to you, please, I feel my glasses steaming up. Please email me again because it's not that I intentionally forget you. I'm just inundated. So if you have something that you really need help with, please just keep at me and I will get to you eventually. So just thank you to everyone for just being so amazing, so respectful in the comments, and I truly do love and appreciate all of you, and as you know, I absolutely respect you. So take care, Bubble family, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Mwah. Bye.